Hello, everybody. Morena. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our Zealed webinar series. My name's Rhonda, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's webinar. Today, our webinar topic is how to make your brand authentic online in 2022. And I'm joined today with Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Lisa is our client services manager here at Zealed, and I think you've been with us 6 years, Lisa? Or was it
Almost
7?
7.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, 7 years, time's flying by. But Lisa has a really varied background from dairy farming through to helping corporates. So I always really love your insights, Lisa, because of the breadth of experience that you've got. And I've seen firsthand how you've been able to help a lot of businesses reach their online goals. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Just before we start, I've just got a little bit of housekeeping. So, especially for those that haven't joined us before or haven't used this particular webinar tool, it does operate slightly different. So, just we'll go through a few things. If any point you feel free, you can feel free to send a message into the chat or ask a question. You can switch between chat mode and question mode in the bottom right corner of the chat. We will save your questions until the end. However, please feel free to post them as we go, as it may make sense to bring them up during the actual webinar and as Lisa's actually presenting. Once we get to the Q&A section at the end, you can participate by either requesting to speak or just posting them for me to read. If you'd like to go back to this webinar or watch previous webinars, we do record all of these and they can be found on our website and also YouTube channel. And we also will send out a link of the recording to you all that are here today, so that you can rewatch it. And actually a cool feature is that even when you're rewatching, you can submit questions on rewatch and we still get those and are able to answer them. So yeah, enough housekeeping. And over to you, Lisa. Oh, actually, just before we jump in, I've just got an offer that we're going to pop through, and that's where basically, if you need to help with making your brand more authentic online, you can book a free online strategy session with one of our senior digital business strategists, and basically they can go through the online website that you might have or business, and then also look at the brand. Over to you, Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda. So like we said, today we're talking about brand authenticity and how to make your brand authentic online. So where I wanted to start though is the why. Why is this important? And I think that's a very important area to focus on. So what do the numbers say in particular about social media? So global social media users have grown by more than 10% over the last 12 months. So that's, considering the large amount of population we have in the world, that's 424 million new users starting their social media journey in 2021. So that's just, even if you get a little smidgen of that number is massive. At least 4.62 billion of the world's 7.9 billion population are active social media users, according to the January 2022 Global Digital Report. So again, that's a lot of people that you can be reaching out to, and it's a lot of people that you can be that probably quite like-minded as well. So in New Zealand, now that we've looked at the global scale, let's bring it down to NZ, because I know a lot of businesses are more just NZ focused. 89.2% or 4.35 million of the 4.88 million total population were social media users in January 2022, so this year, and it grew by 380,000 in 2021. So, what we are seeing is the continual growth. We're seeing more and more get online, and it's just important to have some focus in there, in particular in the social media space. So of the 4.88 million Kiwi social media users, 56% use social media to find out information about brands and products, because that's how easily accessible everything is these days, that you go to find out more about people by going to social media and their website and other areas as well. So why would you use social media for small businesses? So social media can help you engage with your customers and find out what they're saying about your business. Unlike a website, social media is quite interactive. So on a website, people can obviously shop, or they can look at your services, they can find out about you, and they can interact through a chat maybe, or through a form, or getting in touch with you via email, whereas social media is a very interactive space where they can be commenting, sharing, liking, finding out information, seeing reviews. It's all quite live at your fingertips. So why do we need to worry about this? What are the benefits? So first is they provide some resilience and uncertainty. So like we saw with COVID in way back 2020, it's a while ago now, it made it very clear that businesses needed to have a well-developed plan, in particular in the digital space, to ensure your business can survive through times like these. Digital tools and capabilities did help give small businesses and large businesses a lifeline when the pandemic made it impossible for a lot of businesses to operate normally. So to have a shop front, to have people coming to your place of business and doing business with you. So it allowed an extra, I guess it kind of replaced it in the meantime. Business owners were able to quickly pivot and adapt their businesses to these spaces as they had been using. And I think one thing at Zeld, what we keep saying is this digital push, this being more and more online, more and more using digital tools, was always going to happen. And we sort of saw it was happening in the next 5 years. What happened with the pandemic is that it just push that forward a lot faster. So, in the space of what was 5 years, we probably saw about most of it within a year. So this, if you did pivot and adapt to operating online, then it gave you the ability to trade and interact with customers beyond your usual operating hours and in different spaces as well. I kind of touched on this already, but what something is really great about digital, and in particular the social media aspects, is it gives you more connectivity. So in pre-digital social eras, communications between a business and customers were a lot more transactional and tended to be one way unless it was in person. So if someone if you did have a website, they would probably come on, make a transaction, and then that was about it. It's very much growing these days so that people can come online and you can be having ways that your website works and ways that you connect people to your other areas that you have online to make it a lot more of a process and a full customer service experience rather than just quite a transactional transactional way that they work with you. Social media has revolutionized this and that interaction, and then the digital evolution has helped facilitate more conversations, making it a lot easier to talk, gain some insights from clients, solve problems, and also get feedback from customers and clients. I, for one, I find it a lot easier to email or to chat to a business than to sit on a phone. And so it actually has made me probably interact a bit more with businesses that I know or I need to get in touch with, because there's things like chat that means I could be working on something and actually just have the chat up on the side to solve something else, which is very helpful. So what else does this mean for you? It means that there's been an increased reach for sales and site traffic. So what does that mean? It means that now, let's say you're a storefront down in Tauranga. Before, your reach was generally people in the area or maybe visitors who were coming to Tauranga. So that was your reach, your business's reach. Through digital, through social media, email, etc., it has meant now that your reach can easily be NZ wide. So instead of just being a storefront, maybe in one of the local towns, you can actually reach the whole of New Zealand, and if not even further abroad. So those numbers I mentioned earlier about how many people are online on social, that just can show you what your potential reach can be. Obviously, you're not trying to reach every single audience, but it's just showing a percentage of what you could be looking at. So consumers reaching businesses digitally through social media, email and contact forms has become the norm. So it's very normal for people to sort of maybe even be out driving or out catching the bus into work. They see a business on the way, they go on their phone and they actually look it up. It's very common these days. So then more people are likely to click through business websites from their social media as well, if that's where they've found them. And so taking into consideration the recent global digital report statistics, so that's quite a large digital report across the world, 56% of NZ's total population, so an estimated 2.73 million, use social media to search that information about brands and products. So that's just social media. Okay, and so it does show that there's a wide range of audience members out there that you could be reaching. Facebook still holds that #1 spot for being ranked the highest web traffic referrals in New Zealand among any other social media platforms. So while we do know, and I know we say like TikTok and video very much has taken off, TikTok is not a platform that everyone uses still, and if they are to use it, they aren't always looking for that business interaction. I know that when we have been at home, people have been using it for dances, etc. So in those sorts of ways, Facebook still is ranked #1. And it is probably the platform that gives you quite a wide range of ways that you can talk to your customers, whereas for something like TikTok, it is video based. Instagram, it is image based, whereas Facebook lets you be a range of written, image, video based, even polls, etc. They let you have a lot more interaction and freedom with how you interact, which is more likely why they remain at that #1 spot. So another reason why digital, so it can save a ton of time. So there are lots of free and paid digital tools that will help you streamline your business activities, from admin to payroll and accounting to graphic design and marketing. So, being digital or finding digital tools that work with your business will help you save time in the long run, even if there's that smaller investment upfront just to learn how something works. I myself have been learning how to use Canva just for personal things, nothing outside of that. And I have had that small investment up front to work out how to use it. And now I actually really enjoy doing so. You can check out our previous webinar. So 2 weeks ago with Hannah, she covered off some amazing free tools. I downloaded 2 apps myself to help you with your social media marketing and utilizing those tools and how to do so. So that will be sent out to you later on. Also, I've already talked about Canva, but just as an example, so if you need a quick layout for a very time-sensitive post on Facebook, something like Canva has ready-to-use templates. So instead of trying to jump into a program and whip something up, you can go to Canva, you can click Facebook post, and then you just write your content in. So the tools make your life, are trying to make your life a lot easier when it comes to doing very quick things in business that actually can help you in the long run. Another example is if you need some compelling copy for your website headline or even for a post headline on Facebook or Instagram, Copy.ai has hundreds of samples you can use. However, if you are looking for more a skilled web designer or copywriter to help you get you started, businesses such as Zeld and many others out there can help you in that space. So number 4, what else do we love about digital? So data. Data is where a lot of information for digital comes from, because we can look at that, we can track it, and we can then analyze and actually tell a story from it. More traditional media that people have used, you can't, like someone opens a newspaper in their home, they see an ad, they call. Unless you are asking that person, how did you hear about us? How did you know to ring? You won't know what worked, what piece of media worked. Whereas with digital, we can track and look at that data and help it tell a story, and also then help, refine what you're going to do in the future as well. And in the end, a lot of the time you can be looking at your return on investment being larger because of this refinement and analytics that you can get access to. So I think it's very important to think about that. I do remember one client, they would do quite a few $1,000s on a magazine spread that was it was a quarterly magazine, and they never even knew what their return on investment was. However, they went, it's just what we do. Okay, when we took more than a quarter less, so a quarter of that budget, and we took it and we spent it on digital and we showed them the results we were getting, we actually got told to tone it down a little because it was a bit too busy for them, but we were able to then actually show the investment they were putting in and what they were getting out of it. And so for them, they did rethink some of the ways that they did business, and in particular how they marketed it, and did look a bit more to digital as well, because that's where a lot of people are these days. And likewise, magazines are also moving more digital as well, and newspapers. So like I mentioned, when analysed data shows where your sales spiked or dipped, what caused these, what promotions we're running, and where customers dropped off. That's the power of the analytics you can get through digital means. This then can help you inform where improvements can be made to make future marketing campaigns more effective. And then you can also research what your competitors are doing, what their missed opportunities are potentially, and consider how you might create solutions to address these, or just help stand out and be different to them. So now we're moving, so I've covered off the why. I think that's always important. You need to know the why. Why do we do things? Why are we saying social media? Why are the numbers there? What are they telling us? I always think that's important. And now we're going to move into authentic branding. So really the main theme of today's presentation. So authenticity is key. You need to let your brand speak for itself through real moments. So what does that mean? Why the need to be authentic? People are only showing carefully curated, beautifully lit, and perfectly filtered moments, often get trapped in the pitfalls of comparison and one-upmanship. So doing better than someone else. So now more than ever, consumers are actually seeking for very authentic experiences and holding brands accountable for their content. They don't want to see a miracle overnight. They want to know what the real journey is. So what this means is brands need to live up to their values, their brand voice. They need to communicate openly and honestly with customers and be responsible for their actions. What I think this also means is sometimes we need to take a step back and stop trying to do a catch-all. You shouldn't be trying to catch every single person in the market, because it is more often than not that not every single person is your audience. You want to create a connection with people who are within your audience, so that you can communicate easily with them. They are more valuable in the long run because they're more likely to repurchase off you. They are more likely to spread the word about your business. So finding like-minded people under your customers will pay you back 10,000 times more than just that one customer who sort of you were trying to connect with but didn't really connect with, and maybe just got a small sale through, or did one small service for them. So I think that's very important. And one thing I talked about here is around your brand voice. So if you do stay on to the end, we have another offer up that will pop up at the end of the webinar, and that is to download a brand voice sort of template, so that can is something that you'll be able to work through and help you in that space and create this authenticity. So continuing on from that, a Stackler.com report said that 90% of consumers say authenticity is important when deciding what brands they like to support. So more than half, 57% of consumers think that less than half of brands create content that resonates as authentic. Now that's amazing. To actually go, people are not just now going, what content, what are you saying? They're actually going, do they mean that? And I mean, I was just telling Rhonda before I actually changed power companies. And one of the reasons I changed the power company was the story that the new company I'm going with has actually told, and their investment and their passion that I've read from their website and their social media in renewable resource and renewable energy. So not only was I there's a small cost saving, but there were other ones that were actually cheaper I could have gone with. But there were other areas within that brand, within that company, that have really stuck to me that I've gone, I would rather support that. And that's why, I've resonated with the brand. I found them authentic, and now I've actually gone with them. So, about 60% of consumers say content from friends or family influences their purchasing decisions. So, that's very well known. Word of mouth, regardless of what anyone says, word of mouth is always number one. Knowing someone directly has gone and had that service or that product and enjoyed or does like the product is always number one. And so, therefore, it does influence purchasing decisions a lot, while 23% say content from celebrities and influencers is also impactful. So that's also a certain type of audience as well that is quite the influencer generation. And so it's working out whether that audience is suited for your business as well. So some powerful numbers in there in regards to reaching out to your audience and showing your brand, showing who you are, your values. It's starting to speak very largely in the digital space. So customers really value authenticity. Today, people prefer to buy and support brands that share their values. So likewise, what I was just saying about the power companies, that's a value to me, and so that's what I'm looking to support. So their authentic content can then help forge that deeper connection and really drive those values. And doing so then encourages brand loyalty and taking the bond past sales. So you're turning people into just customers that maybe occasionally buy or occasionally use your service into real advocates for your company because of your values and what you stand for. And that's very important these days as people are trying to find real connections through digital and sort of cut through some of the fake stuff that does pop up. So it's about the relationship between your brand and the followers, and genuineness will make your relationship with your customers very much stronger. So customers know that they support brands that are genuine, authentic, and they then make them feel good about their choices. So there's always that little what's in it for me, and that's exactly what that is. And again, taking it back to that power company situation with me, what's in it for me? I feel good because I feel good that I'm with a company that is, they can't solve all the world problems, but they are trying to make a difference. And I support that, and it does make me feel good. And that's what's in it for me. So now we move into some tips. There's quite a few. I did count earlier. I know there was more than 7. I think there's almost 10. So let's go through them. 1, be honest and transparent. So transparency is the name of the game. Let your clients get a glimpse of what's happening inside your company. So if you sell products, share stories about how you make the product. Tell people where the materials come from, how the materials are processed, or how you manufacture. Or you might take them through sort of the design process and how you design the things you want them to buy. So people get quite curious. They like to know how things are crafted, how things are put together. I'm not saying give away your company secrets. I'm not saying give away that one thing that makes you unique, but craft a story around that. It can speak wonders. Quite a lot of people recently, for some reason, I have seen so many people posting how they make their breakfast burritos with ham, egg, and cheese. But it's actually something people want to know. How do you make yours? What's so special about your breakfast burrito? And so that's just a little sneak peek into interacting and showing people about that.
Lisa, I just had a question. I thought it was worth just jumping in here. Although you want to be honest and transparent and tell all these neat things about you, you've got to be really careful that you're being honest, right? Because I just recently saw in the media a couple of brands being fined for claiming they had recycled fabric as part of their clothing.
Yes.
And in fact, they couldn't trace it back to be
Yes.
actually really recycled, or it was claiming to be organic, and yet they
Was
couldn't prove it. So yeah, it's really important, because if you're not really if you don't really have those things, it can actually damage your brand, right? It
definitely.
completely the other way.
Yeah, I know some much larger companies, I think UK, US based, who are in New Zealand, and they've actually been held accountable for what they call greenwashing these days, so pretending to be more sustainable than they are. And what I would say for that is, if, like Rhonda said, be honest. So be honest about these things. Don't try and make it up to be seen to be something. If you want to be a sustainable company, if you want to be more eco-friendly, then write that as a goal you have. If
Mm,
you can't do it now, don't say that you're doing it, or that, just write something that's kind of a bit not too transparent, but kind of eludes people that maybe you're doing it. Just write a statement to go, in the next 5 years, these are our plans to be more sustainable. People will
nice.
buy into that. So, you know,
Totally. It shows
but
the honesty that you're not there yet, but you're heading this way. It's your goal to do this. Yeah.
definitely, because it is a big shift for some businesses. It's a lot of
Mm,
work. And so while, the world's sort of going, we need to do this, and there's a lot of talk around it, you know, don't you don't need to pretend that you're doing it. But you can be honest if it is an intention you have within the next few years,
lovely.
and what your plan is there. And I know for a lot of companies, it's around starting small. So a lot of companies have just done the simple switch of changing their packaging to those recycled ones. And that's a very simple change that people have done to just start something.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Lisa.
No, thanks, Rhonda. So, yeah, so like I said, just share those stories, sort of share that bit about how you do things. And then if you're a service, you could share the work that goes into creating your customer experience instead, or might take them through how you go about, if you come out and you give a quote, you could sort of take them behind the scenes of doing that and do a snapshot of the day in the life of. Those things, although sometimes I think people go, oh, it's silly, it's a lot of work, people really love that. They love being, I guess, nosy. They love to see what people are doing. And I think that's the curious human nature behind all of us, that we do like to see that. I, for one, go, oh, no one wants to hear me talk. No one wants to see me do that. But then I come on and do webinars, and I obviously have people attend and they want to listen. And so you sort of got to put your own thoughts at the back of your head and just be trying to push forward with what you could put together for your clients and your customers. So number 2, and this one I feel is a really easy one, okay? So share your brand story. This is quite an easy one to do. So you can take your story. Your story is how your company will be remembered by your customers, and it's what makes you unique. There's no other story like yours, okay? There might be similar, but there's no other story like yours. No one else has grown up the way you have. No one else has the mind that you have. And while you may have some similar goals and beliefs as some other companies that are competitors potentially, you're still unique in your business. So from here, what you can be doing is you can highlight some milestones only and keep it short but sweet. So the more the story drags on, the more likely it is to lose the interest of the readers. But so you can be doing it by just doing quick little milestones in your business. If you've turned 5 years old, if you've hit 1,000 followers on Facebook, very short little things like that, because it's things that you probably appreciate, and you're showing your clientele that you appreciate those. And so it's very important to help that build your story and your brand. So what brand storytelling and how you know if you're sort of heading towards the right way here is it's aiming to create an emotional connection to your audience. So then it can increase the brand awareness, the reach, and also attract new followers that are obviously generally like-minded. So when you share that, I think first thing, if you've not done it, go to your website, go to your social medias, look at your About Us. Does it tell your genuine story, or is it just we sell this online? Okay, So have a look at that and go, does it say, I started this, well, not so much I started this business, but this business started because I was traveling abroad and I stumbled across this. It was great. I really enjoyed it and I wanted to bring it back to New Zealand, or I wanted to incorporate it into what I do in New Zealand. So have that story there that's giving people a picture of why this business is important to you, and it will grow on them as to why it's important to them as well. So number 3, and very important, introduce your team. Okay, so show the faces of the people that work in your team. Show founders, the rest of the team. It boosts the image of the company. People then go, oh, yeah, I know these people. They are people. They're real people. They have faces. They're not just a name. They're not just someone that could be anywhere. It's that connection that really helps. So it can give them a sense of familiarity and sense of security that they are dealing with real people. It can also make your company all the more transparent and interesting as you allow your audience to become part of your community. So once they see who they are, I know some businesses do it very well as well. And it, again, coming back to that brand voice, the way that your brand is, some companies actually do, one I know of, you hover, like you scroll across the person and it shows the superhero that they want to be. And it just adds that extra layer of connection, because you're sort of going, oh, that's cool. And it gives you a thought that, yep, this team's all professional. They're all standing here in their suits or whatever and putting forward that professional image. But actually behind the scenes, they're a real person. They have a superhero that's their favorite. And it's that authenticity and that realness and that connection there that can help the clients and customers, feel like they're a part of the brand and starting to really understand who you are and find things that are like them. For the superhero, it probably makes you sit there and go, what superhero would I want to be? So again, it's ticking away in your customer's mind and making them think about what you're showing them to and how it connects. So be accessible. So this is a very important one, and what I see is a lot of people have info on their website. They're not bringing it through to their social media and other spaces they have online. So ensure that you complete your business address, contact numbers, email addresses, and that they're all included where possible in the social media handles and little about us areas, so that your audience knows where you are and how to reach you. I've said this in quite a few webinars previously, but I will say it again. I do predominantly look for NZ-based companies unless I know I can't get a service or a product here. And I will go and find and try to do my best due diligence to make sure that they're a Kiwi company. I was a little upset last year. I did actually order something from someone who very much appeared to be very New Zealand based and a New Zealand company. And then I got the courier ticket to tell me it was coming from Australia. Not too much of a big deal. It's nice to support our neighbours, but I am someone who I try to support NZ businesses first. And so that kind of irked me a little, because I thought I was buying from a New Zealand brand and a New Zealand company, but actually it was just a face on top of their Australian brand. And I could have maybe chosen a different company had I been able to find out that info as well. So I think that's important so people can see where you are and who you are, but also putting as many contact details as possible gives your clients a range of options when it comes to getting in touch with you. That will then improve your business's reputation, because as much as we don't want to ever think of the scenarios where things go wrong, it can happen, and clients want to know that they can get in touch with you quite easily and through different means that then give them the option of the way they want to interact. When you force someone to be through phone only or through email only, it can sort of put a barrier there, because then you feel, oh, I have to jump on the phone to get in touch. Can I be bothered? Whereas, yep, they've got an email, I'll just quickly send an email, and it makes it a lot easier. So like I was saying, it does help improve your business's reputation, and it can actually boost your edge over the competitors as well. So in particular, if you offer phone on top of email or forms, that can give you a boost, because there are people that just love picking up the phone quickly, or they're in the car, they're too busy, they just want to quickly do a call rather than having to worry about sitting and writing an email. Now, the next one, again, to help build that brand authenticity, is around posting testimonials. So testimonials are strong and effective content. They let your clients tell your story for you, what they liked, what they didn't like. It just lets it get it out there. And although it's not that direct word of mouth from friends and family, it very much leans on that. I like to know that someone else has gone here and had a good service, or they've purchased a product from you that maybe, might be a bit more expensive, or might be a more luxury buy rather than a need must have. And therefore, it's making me feel good about why I should purchase from you. And like I touched on earlier, that feel good, what's in it for me? Feeling good is a great what's in it for your customers. And a lot of people do like that little feel good. Okay, so by sharing testimonials and having your customer reviews on social media as well, it does perform another form of proof that you own a credible and successful business. So essentially, really what we're getting down to here is it's establishing trust, and that trust and seeing that other people have had a good product or a good service then can earn you more leads and customers. Okay, now probably I'll jump in now about this. If you get bad reviews, that is fine. Okay, so if you get a bad review, that's fine. It's in your response and how you respond to that can actually is what makes it. So if you did get a bad review, respond appropriately and then try to take it offline as well. Okay, so I think you need to look into that and not ignore those, but try and deal with them the best you can at that time. Of course, if someone's really, I guess more attacking the business in terms of trying to leave bad reviews, there's other steps you can go around that, and then we do actually have a webinar on how to deal with those. Number 6, so skip the call to actions for a second. So we are in a world very much that leads everyone to go, click here, view this, click here, download that, click here, see it online, click here, buy now. So when you are sometimes trying to build your brand voice, you're trying to build your brand, you're trying to build that connection, you might just need to leave the call to actions to the end. So, try and not make everything you do be a quick sale or something towards purchasing. It is good to give a little to get a lot. So in these scenarios, you could still have a call to action, but it's one where you're giving them something. So you're giving them maybe, some tips or guides on how to do something at home. You're giving tips on how they could do this themselves, but then, really they might not have the time, which is why they're looking at you in the first place. So doing so will help you not get your customers into a flow where they see something from you and they start going, oh, what do they want me to buy now? Or what do they want me to do? What is it that they're trying to sell to me? And that's where you want to just have that nice balance between how often you push a service or a sale, and how often you're actually giving a little to then get that in return. So yeah, try playing the long game with social media every once in a while. So, like I just said, give them some advice, give tips, give, those in behind the scenes, showing them, because that's creating that connection. And striking a balance between these posts that are meant to convert or sell quickly and posts that are simply meant to connect with your audience is very important. Number 7, so own up if you mess up. So I think it's very normal. Humans are humans. Everyone makes mistakes every so often. I know that quite a large company had an unfortunate recipe go out a few days after one of a famous singer did pass away, and it was very unfortunate, but they owned it immediately, which is very, very good of them to do, because they didn't know that was going to happen. It wasn't what was expected, but they weren't quick enough to stop it. And that's okay, as long as that you own it and then you sort of show what you're doing to rectify it, or you're just apologizing. And again, it goes back to that authenticity and being genuine about it. Don't just say sorry because you think you should. Actually, say sorry because it's the right thing, and you have that genuineness behind it as well. So errors and mistakes happen even on social media. An accidental typo, a factual error, or a poorly articulated reply may suddenly get out of hand. So since social media blunders can damage your reputation fast, because it's quite real time, you just need to figure out the best way to fix it. So owning up to the mistake and sincerely apologizing for it can help repair some of the damage that's already done. Okay, and that's quite simple. Again, if it's in particular one person that's maybe talking about an experience, try taking it offline straight away as well, while still saying, you are sad to hear that experience happened, and you would like the opportunity to rectify that. Let's have a call or something like that. But it is a simple thing to do. There's lots of guides online on how to, they even give you templates for quick emails and things like that. And just because you may have not sat there for hours trying to write this and you are using a template, doesn't make you any less sorry. It's just making sure that it's connecting to the way that you would genuinely say that. You're just getting some help so that it's not going to take you a few days to get that response out, because like I mentioned, it's very real time. It does need faster responses in these spaces. So continuing on with authenticity tips, but these are sort of a bit more driven into some real actions you can do. So number one, and I did touch on this, it's posting those behind the scenes videos. So this is something I think you can start with quite quickly. It doesn't have to be high quality. Record on your phone, okay? And it doesn't have to be the latest phone either. It can be one of the phones over the last, quite a few years. They all have decent cameras as long as there's not a crack through it. So you post a behind the scenes video showing how your team operates, how your products are made, or even how your materials are sourced. So these behind the scenes content helps you connect with your audience and humanize your brand. It's showing that really you come to work, you put the work in every day, and this is what's making you successful. So it brings that connection to your audience on a personal level, into a quick sale or a conversion by making you relatable and approachable, which is very important these days. This also then adds value to your products or services. If people see what goes on behind the scenes, they may understand a bit more why maybe you're, a few dollars more expensive than someone else, because they're seeing the effort you put in behind. Now, another bit that you can get into and do quite quickly is you can be promoting other brands' cause-related content and initiatives in your social stories and feeds to show support. So I think, and we've used sort of the climate and eco here, but if you have goals or values that align to some other companies that aren't your direct competitors, you could be looking to share information about them or their posts as well. And this can help with your content because it's showing, I guess, that sneak peek into things that are important to you in your business. And, that's what you're pushing to your customer as well. So for example, let's say you did go with a packaging company that is using sustainable recycled products or compostable products, and maybe also trying to be carbon zero with deliveries. If they do some posts, you could be sharing those to go, hey, this is the company I've chosen, and it starts, really showing that insight into the decisions you're making and why that also connects with your customers. So a company who cares about socially relevant issues and causes that matter to the community, whether it's another brand's initiative, earns a good reputation among its audience. Okay, so support causes that help improve lives of people and improve the community you serve for the better. So that's another thing that you can be doing, and that's, I guess, free content as well for you, one that you didn't really have to, put all the energy into, but you may just want to reach out and, let them know that you are sharing what they have there. Number 3, so it create promos that enable your customers to give back to the community. So you'll see it quite a bit. Sort of a portion of these proceeds will benefit a charity or cause your business supports. So this is another little quick thing you can do around authenticity. So there might be something locally in the community that does align with your brand, and maybe $1 from the proceeds over all sales in the month of March will go towards this. And then, so not only do you have the content to say, let's support this, you will have the content at the end to go, this is how much we raised as a community, and this is what we're donating to them. You can even do a little connection potentially with the social media or the marketing of the community that you're supporting as well. But business owners, well, I guess customers and communities have sort of put this onus on everyone to have a responsibility to the communities they operate in, and thus giving back in those spaces is quite vital. So it is something that's becoming more and more these days. I mean, we saw it. We had the pandemic hit, and everyone, well, I should say almost everyone, largely supporting local. Everyone was, I want my coffee shop down the road to open so I can get a coffee and I can help support them through this time. It was a very big movement, and it just sort of leans on what I'm talking about here. So consumers too, what's in it for me again? I want to take part in such worthwhile causes and initiatives. So it's that feel good again. And your consumers and customers like to feel good. So they will gladly, generally welcome these types of promotions that then enable them to share and support the community as well. And they can sort of show they've done that. And that feel good feeling that you get when you do something like that, that can lead to further sales, lead to word of mouth referrals, things like that in the future as well. Now, number 4, so another one that you can start with right now is by reviewing your content calendar and not being afraid to share how you're making a positive impact on the community, even if it is just one product or service at a time. So make sure that you're updating your content calendar frequently so it's up to date, it's still telling your story, it's sort of changed as you've made decisions within the company. And then providing those updates to your wider following, to your social media and your website, so you can show that positive impact your brand is making on the community. So this might be as simple, so we've got the Zeld one here. We hit 20 years, so we did do a post about it to say, look, this is actually how many people we've worked and helped over the last 20 years. This is what actually it's meant in terms of some dollar figures. And then our GEM initiative that we have, we're just showing how many applications we've accepted to provide free e-commerce websites to businesses across New Zealand underneath the GEM initiative. So, it can get a bit awkward to sort of blow your own trumpet, but it's important to do so when it comes to your business, because people like to see the impact that you're doing. And if you're putting in all the work, why not sometimes talk about it? Don't make it every single post, but every so often it is important to put it out there. Oh, and that's it. That's where we're at. I do believe we have some questions. So yeah, if you've got questions, please use the chat or the Q&A. And we'll get into answering those as soon as possible.
Thanks, Lisa. I found that really useful. We've had a few questions coming through, and I think it's probably just worth us discussing one that Marilyn brought up, in that she has she's selling other brands, and so was really kind of asking, how does she kind of go about all of this when she's selling other people's brands? And I kind of replied a little bit that it's good to still have your own brand story separate to the brands, but I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how they connect a little.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there will be reasons why you've selected your brand, which generally falls back to your own brand's values as well. And so when you are in that space where you're selling other brands, so, you just, a lot of clothing stores do that. It's, why have you chosen those brands? What was it about them? And in particular, this is where I probably touched on it a little later, where you're sort of using content or things they're doing to then support your main values. So it's not reposting everything they say, but it's sort of going, here's some additional things we do. But outside of that, as Rhonda was saying, it is about building your own brand story. So I'm sure there's a reason why you still went into business. It wasn't that I just want to sell these brands. There will be something whether it's something from when you were younger or just a dream you've always had, whatever that is, there's still a reason why you got into this. You may have just found that it was a market that you never ever found in New Zealand, and you're talking about why you wanted to bring that opportunity to New Zealanders, and that's why you've started your business. So you can still have your own story and your own values, and those can then lead those connections to the other brands.
Yeah.
I think if you are selling other brands clothing or whatever it is, though, you can also, make sure you're sort of partnering them with them in a way that you support each other and have sort of license to be able to be sharing or utilizing similar content as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really do think telling your own brand story, I think when you own a business or have started something, it's like a part of you that often you're nervous to share it because you don't understand how unique it is. And I think that's a lot with any parts of your brand is maybe you're hesitant to, I, I think the saying's to put yourself out there. um, any kind of thoughts on that, on why, how to overcome that barrier? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real vulnerability. You're actually opening yourself up to criticism, and I think that's
Mm,
that hesitation a lot of people experience. I think when you do it, you really do. You have to kind of put your own thoughts, everyone has this little voice that sort of goes, don't do that, that sounds stupid. But
yes.
other people actually love it. And so you kind of have to part that, and you really just have to do it. And I think the best way is, you almost put on your business voice only and pretend you're just the business and you've just got to talk about yourself. And I think if you're struggling to sort of get into that, all you need to do is start writing down some facts. And then your facts, you'll notice if you just put an extra bit to them, probably have some emotional or some authenticity way that you can sort of add this extra little bit to it. And you're not, and at the end of the day, you realize you're not, blowing your own trumpet. You're not sort of trying to go, hey, look at me. You're actually
Yeah.
just saying some facts that have happened, and because of these decisions you've made, it has meant that you've had this impact on others. And it does become quite authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you find that it's not, I guess, being that natural, then it may mean that there isn't the authenticity there that it needs to be, and that's where you're sort of, you sort of maybe need to look at what you're trying to talk through or
Yeah.
approach. Yeah.
And because I run a charity called Time Out, and I know when I came to do it, it's such a personal story. And so I'm like writing this book, about the whole thing. Gave it to someone else, and they were able to put it into something that looked good, and kind of presented it without so much emotion, or still telling the story though. And I think that can be good as always, leverage off other people as well to help, because I think when it is so personal to you and you're so invested, it can be hard to know how to put it out there. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's like, sometimes we'll say things to ourselves that you would never say to anyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it's that sort of thought as well, where you almost have to think like you're talking to your best friend or, someone very
Yeah.
close to you, because you would never tell them not to say that.
Exactly.
You would only tell yourself, oh, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just some other ways you could look at it.
Thanks, Lisa. I've got a question here from Jasmine. When promoting other brands, causes, etc., is there a quick way to share their content post if they are on Facebook and Instagram, or do they have to go onto each platform separately?
Yeah. So, the good thing about Facebook and Instagram is they are the same company, and generally, when you click share, regardless of where you are, it actually says, "Do you want to set it on Facebook and Instagram?" Um, I think the only time it doesn't do that is if you've actually updated your settings, or maybe because where it pops up, it's actually very easy to go, no, don't ever want to do that.
Yeah.
So if that isn't popping up, I would check your settings, because there would be a setting that says you want to do on both platforms, and therefore, you have that choice there. What it means though, if you're sharing a Facebook post, the Facebook post is what gets shared, like the image gets shared on Instagram, Facebook. It's not you're going to share their Facebook one to Facebook and their Instagram one to Instagram. It's that you're just sharing that one that you are clicking on. So if you are wanting to do
Interesting.
both individually, then you would need to jump on each platform individually.
Right. And some people do kind of remodel their Facebook post to be more suitable to Instagram, don't they? So they're not necessarily going to fit both platforms.
Definitely, because I touched on it at the start. Instagram is very image. It's
Yes.
an image heavy platform. It's not, and now it's moving into videos a lot more as well, but it's not content. It's not written. So generally, people will lead with a Facebook post that has a mixture of all of it, and then they've got quite a shortened version for Instagram. So yeah, you're very right in saying that generally they would have changed it quite a bit in those spaces.
Yeah. Thanks. I know we're going quite late, but I think it's still worth going through some questions just because I know people are going to get this sent out to them and they could even look at the questions after. And I think they add really good value to the webinar. So I just wanted to ask, you mentioned about sharing a glimpse of what's happening inside your company. What if a competitor starts copying me and gets ideas and you feel like I'm the one being authentic here and then they're just copying, and so people were not understanding I'm the authentic one. Is there anything you can kind of do about it?
So generally not, unless you're actually patented or trademarked or anything like that. There's not much you can do about it. So I mean, if depending on what your service is or what your product is and the, I guess, IP behind that, those might be good areas to look into. And you can go to iponz.co.nz, I think, and that can give you a whole lot of information and tools around doing that if it's quite high tech and things like that, around protecting that. And that way, then legally you can deal with it. But in terms of like, if it's just, you do a special knot and you accidentally showed that and then that's now someone else copying that because it's going to make their product a lot better, there's not too much you can do about that. And I think what you need to do is not worry about that. If you put all your energy onto that, that's the wrong thing to focus on. You're now focusing on that competitor. You actually just need to focus on your business. And generally, why your business is doing well and why people want to copy you is because you've got good service, you've got good products, you've got all of this. So you should just then put the energy into continuing to improve or deliver on that rather than worrying about them trying to copy you. Okay. So it's that whole where you put your energy and focus is what's going to improve or I guess not improve if the energy is not there. So that's one part of it. The other thing is, just be careful sometimes of what you show as well. I'm following a brand at the moment, and she showed us 3 designs for these blankets that she's doing, but she's just showing us little screenshots and bits and pieces of it. It's still telling a story and it's getting us involved, but it's not enough to know exactly what program, who she's working with, or anything like that. So there's ways you can still deliver that authenticity without giving away too much as well.
I think too, I've seen where people have just blatantly copied your image, your ad, and are reusing that, and I think that definitely can be reported to the platform.
Yes.
So people shouldn't be just blatantly copying the exact thing, that can be reported, and they generally take those pretty seriously. Sometimes can take a bit of time to deal with that, within Facebook and Instagram, but worth reporting if you're getting copied
Yes.
that closely. Yeah.
Almost an impersonation, right? That
Yeah,
level.
yeah, those
Yeah.
sorts of things, even just your brand names and stuff like that, if they've made another account or, to that extent. But I was just wondering, how do you go about getting reviews or testimonials for your service and product? Because you talked about how that really helps to build the kind of reputation of your business and the quality of your products or the aspects of your products that you're trying to show that are important to you as a business. So reviews seem to be really important.
Definitely. And I mean, the number one thing that lots of people don't do is it's just ask. So work into the processes you have the way to ask that without having to ask directly. So for some, it's just asking when on the invoice that gets sent or the packing slip that gets sent to go, hey, could you leave a review on Google or Facebook, etc. So that's the real simple ways where you just build it in. if you specifically need the reviews to get started, you might then want to look at a small offer. So I know that one of the small businesses I go to was just starting out and wanting to get that support. So they said, hey, we'll give you $50 off the next service if you could write a review. So a few of us jumped on and did it because, yay, $50 off. But what it meant for them was a lot more powerful because now the business has grown a lot because they've had these reviews to use. So you may want to think, if you're just trying to build those, of ways that you can do that. Though with Google, you have to be careful because with Google reviews, you need to not be incentivizing people or seen to incentivizing. So I'm not saying do an ad, like don't do an ad to go give me a review. But if they come into the shop, or if there's a little way that you can just go, hey, would be great if you could jump on my socials and leave a review. We've got $10 off for everyone who does that, or something. Something small like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Well, I found the questions really helpful and the whole presentation. I know you referred previously that we were going to put just a bit of a help out there.
Yes.
It's called a brand voice. Do you want to just explain what a brand voice chart is?
Definitely. So I've just shared the offer now as well. So you can download the chart. So what it's doing is it's just giving you a place where you write down your main voices, the way you're going to talk. And I think that's one of the hardest things people do, because when you sit down to write some content or write a post or something, you're doing it in the moment that you're in, or the mood that you're in. And what this does by working through it is it allows you to actually, I guess, almost, I would suggest quickly reading it before you're about to write your post, because it's going to remind you of the things that you need to talk about, or the ways that you need to sort of be writing. So what it covers off is sort of voice characteristics. So what is it about the voice? Are you someone who's is it an emotional led voice? Like what characteristics are there in the way that you speak? Like one of the personal trainers I follow online, if I was to say what the voice characteristic for him is, it would just be it would just be down to earth, honest, like in your face, confronting almost, but as he says, if you don't like that, if you want to lie to yourself when I'm just trying to tell you the truth and make you realize that, that's your problem. That's not mine. I'm just trying to be who I am, and I'm trying to be genuine. So that's what you're thinking about here. And then you're just building out from that. So you're describing it. You're sort of talking about, you're building on that, so that when you have it there, when you sort of got to go in to write your content, it's there as that guide. So it's just a small chart to get you started. It's not like a full brand guideline or anything like that, but it's just to, I guess, help bring you back to a center spot so that all your social posts are sounding the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome, Lisa. Thank you. So our next webinar will be on March 16th, 2022. So in a fortnight's time, it's going to be measurement and metrics to define your success online. So to start tracking your marketing campaigns effectively, learn which marketing metrics to keep an eye on and what they're trying to say about your digital reach and profitability. It can be such a complex topic. Measurement and metrics is one of the beauties of operating online, but can be complex. So it's well worth coming along to that one. Please invite people along to it that you think it might be helpful for. Yeah, so just a real special thanks to you, Lisa. Thank you for joining me today and for sharing some of your expertise and knowledge. If you missed part of the webinar or would like to see it again, we do record all of these and they can be found on our website and also on our YouTube channel. But we will also be sending out a link to today's webinar recording later this afternoon once we've downloaded the whole thing. And when you get sent the link and you're rewatching or sharing it, people can submit more questions. So please, as you're rewatching, if you have questions, please pop them through. We're happy to help out. If you know of anyone that might benefit from attending these in future, please feel free to share our registration links. So yeah, thank you again, Lisa. Appreciate
Thanks,
your
Rhonda, for having
time.
me.
And thank you to everyone for coming